I'm here today with Sarah. Sarah teaches at all three studios, Brighton, Mordialloc and Mornington. You also teach on the teacher training and run a lot of our retreats and mentoring with the teaching team. So welcome.
Thank you. Lucky me.
It's your dream role.
It really is.
Yeah. So we are talking today about yoga off the mat. And if you practice yoga, whether it's at Warrior One or somewhere else, you've probably heard your teacher say, this is a skill or a tool that we can take off the mat. Now, that's a big statement. What does it mean? That's what we're kind of going to unpack today.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure when you come to a yoga class, you have an idea that you're not just moving your body. There's also this kind of philosophical aspect to it. And so you might hear teachers talk about things like being present, being mindful, awareness, or some version of yogic philosophy. And the beautiful thing about the practice is that you kind of move through this whole spectrum of a human experience. There's some relaxing moments, there's some challenging moments, there's all sorts of stuff going on. You don't know where you're going to end up. And so you've got some kind of tool that you can come back to centering or back to awareness or back to conscious choices that you're making. And so what we practice, such a nice word to call it a practice, is not just physical movement. We practice some sort of idea of how we want to show up for ourselves in our lives and how we want to take care of our bodies, the way we want to, be mindful in the way that we're doing things in life. So if you find a challenging pose in a yoga class and you're noticing, how do I react when things are really challenging? And how can I nurture myself? How can I support myself so that I get to show up as my best in this moment here in yoga? But those same tools, like what you're doing here, is what you're doing everywhere. So when you learn how to really be present with yourself, take care of yourself, and support yourself through mindful practices, of course, that's something that's going to be able to go off into your daily life as well. What we practice here, we can take with us.
As a teacher and a practitioner of yoga, what do you think your lessons have been?
Oh, so many years of doing this practice. There's so many different things that have come through in all the years. But I really think these days it's about how I take care of myself.
Mm.
So maybe I used to really push and want to do everything perfectly. I'm sure we're all probably guilty of that in certain ways. And nowadays, I'm like, instead of trying to do the pose perfectly and push myself and make myself whatever, what do I really need in this moment? So checking in with myself. Maybe today I do need a little encouragement and motivation to breathe deep and stay and prove to myself that, I'm really capable. And on other days, it's like giving myself permission to do less, to take a break, to be more supportive. So I really love how every day it's different, but always a chance to check in with myself. What about you?
I think I call myself a recovering perfectionist. And I'm a big believer of the 80-20 rule. I've talked about this before on the podcast, that 80% good enough and there's always a 20% improvement with everything I touch, whether it's work or personal life. I think for me, every time I step onto the mat, I'm grounded back to who I am. I think that's why I initially fell in love with the practice. I was drawn to it physically. That was the initial love of yoga. Is I was in my 20s, my body started to break down from overtraining, going too hard, exactly what you were saying. And then I came to yoga because it was low impact. I became obsessed with hot yoga.
Oh, yeah. I had that too.
Yeah, the same obsession.
Yeah.
However, over the years, of course, I started to realize that the practice is so much more than the physical.
Yeah.
And I noticed my nervous system dropped down. I noticed I became a lot more grounded. And now when I practice, I basically, if you ever see me in class, I run to my phone because I get so many ideas. I almost get like a download of ideas, inspiration, and I literally run and I'm like, I have to write everything down. I'm like, no one talk to me because I want to get all it on paper. So for me, it's become like a reconnection with my creative, with myself, and also just feeling a lot more, I'm a better person when I do yoga.
I agree. And there's something about, funny you say the thing about the phone, not having my phone for that hour, leaving it out in reception, and you take a minute to go in, because that's all about what yoga is doing, right? You're tuning in. So all the static, all the noise that's outside of you, all the things that are happening here, have an hour where it's refocused internally. And it's kind of amazing what you discover when you spend time inside creative ideas, solutions that you wouldn't have maybe thought of in your normal logical mind, or just maybe noticing, I really need some downtime, or I need some time off my phone, or anything could come through. That's
Mm.
the kind of fun part. And it's endless. When you come to a yoga practice and slow down and tune in, there's always something interesting to find.
Yes, that's so true. And at the moment in your classes and your teaching, what is your focus in terms of what are you telling students to take off the mat?
Ooh, here's a good one. It's such a good analogy. I'm so excited to share this with you. If you guys are as old as we are, you might remember radios. Do you remember radios?
Sadly, though.
You're tuning and there's all that static, and you try to adjust the little bunny ears up the top. Do you know how to ground a radio to get the static to go away? You plug it into the ground. Literally, you ground into earth and the static goes away. And I was like, I'm kind of a radio. All that static, all that external noise, it starts to affect you, or even that internal noise of your mind. And we're up here trying to adjust the bunny ears on the radio. I bet there's like some 20-year-olds are like, what do you mean the bunny ears on the radio? There used to be these things, antennas. Anyway, but a practice like yoga, you come and you literally reconnect to the earth. You feel gravity, you let yourself ground, and it clears the channel.
Mm.
You feel like exactly what you're saying, something comes through and you can hear it clearly because there's less static. So, grounding yourself and taking the time to be out in nature or sit on the ground, take a couple deep breaths, it's something you can literally take into your daily life. When your mind gets really busy and staticky, ground yourself.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because if you've never practiced yoga before, you're probably not listening to this, but you will hear people say like, I'm so addicted. It brings me back to myself. I feel like a different person after yoga. And like, that's true of a lot of movement,
No.
right? Movement is medicine in so many ways, but yoga is so strongly linked to the breath. And I think that's why it does take you to that place that you're talking about, out of the static, out of the waves of your mind into a more calm, grounded place. And that's where the magic lies.
I think, too, all movement, especially if it's done mindfully, can be so good for you. But there's something special about yoga where you synchronize your breath and it really brings you into your heart, into this space of listening and really feeling. Whereas some other physical modalities might push. This is like drop in and feel what's really true. It's like coming back to that space of really listening to yourself and to reconnecting with that sense that you know what's true. And so it's the best. I love it so much. I could talk about it all day.
We're biased, but yes, it is the best. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure talking about what we love the most,
Yes.
the practice.
Warrior One Yoga is the best. We love it. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.